What's up, everybody? This is DJ Wonderboy. I'm here with the guy KP, and we are the Atlanta Sports OGs coming back at you. And listen, for those of you who are coming in to watch us for the first time, plain and simple, we talk about Atlanta sports from the perspective of the past, the present, and the future. So, KP, what we getting into today, man?
Hey, what's up, world? It's your boy KP. We got some great topics today, but like I always like to start the show out, Atlanta sports is always underrated, but the two OGs have never been duplicated. So with all of that being said, we're going to jump into today's show. We're going to talk about these Falcons. You see what I got on. You know what time it is. Rise up, ATL. So,
Rise up.
man, we had the 8th pick. And let's recap what we've done so far in the draft. We know today is we got some other selections coming. But
Right.
let's first talk about the first round. I'm going to just let you know up front, I was totally surprised that Jalen Carter fell to us. But I did like the pick of Bijan Robinson. I got to give credit to my man Carl Dukes. He was the first one saying that we should pick Bijan. I jumped on the train with him. I feel like we got, a possible like an Adrian Peterson or a Derrick Henry, Najee Harris. He's all these guys in one, Saquon Barkley. And I feel like it protects Ritter and allows us to dominate the line of scrimmage. So I do love it. What do you think of it?
What do I think of it? Okay. I love the player. Let me just say that. Bijan Robinson,
Okay.
great player. Probably was the best player available. You know what I mean?
He was rated the number 2 player in the NFL draft with a 96 rating overall. So if this was Madden, my guy started out
Right.
with a 96.
Right. So I mean, that's good. So I'm not going to deny that. I love the player. One of the things I really like about him too is that he has received just a lot of rave reviews for the person he is. Great in the
Character.
community, all of
Character.
that. Love it. But let me ask you a question.
Okay.
At what point is the Falcons organization going to prioritize the defensive line? That's what I want to know.
Well, okay. This is where
Answer it for me.
I think Terry Fontenot answered that question.
Okay.
Calais Campbell, defensive line, right?
1
David
year guy.
Alamada, defensive line. Now, I'm not saying that. This is not long term. Defensive line. Defensive line, though. So
Okay.
everything you did in free agency was to emphasize defense. You added to your linebacking core. You bring in
Right.
Bud Dupree. You bring in Jeff Okudah, where if he can just get right and be healthy, that's going to allow your pass rush to get off because now the quarterback has to hold the ball longer. You bring in my guy from the Bengals to play safety. Again, that's going to force them to hold the ball longer. And let's be honest, this might be our best safety that we've had probably since Keanu Neal. Because I would rate him higher
Keanu
than Rico
Neal,
Allen.
Thomas Decool, along.
Yeah, I would rate Jesse
and-
Bates
and-
higher than
and-
Thomas Decool, higher than Rico Allen. No disrespect to those guys. No disrespect. But Jesse Bates is just
no
at
doubt,
another
no
level.
doubt.
He's at another
No
level.
doubt. And I agree with you. They did some work on defense, but Calais Campbell, maybe you get a year out of him, maybe 2 if you're lucky. These other guys are a bunch of if guys. If he does this, if he does
This is
that.
the thing, too. One, okay, we had to be savvy about what we do in the draft. Let's be honest, too. We just got out of cap bail, right? And
Very
they
true.
did a great job putting resources together to say, let's address next season. I don't know that we're in a place to say what we're going to do for the next 5 years because we don't even know what kind of quarterback we have. And this is why I like Bijan's pick. So, number one, we know Arthur Blank was not going to pick Jalen Carter because character flags. And I'm not saying he's a bad kid. I don't think so at all. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't think the kid should be held responsible for the rest of his life for this. It's
Of
not like
course.
he was drunk driving and, did something. Yes, he was speeding. I mean, what do you expect? He's 21 years old. People do that. And that's not excusing what happened. And again, prayers to the family. None of that is what I'm saying. But this organization is still in a place where they're like, after what happened with Michael Vick and the guy wasn't honest, we're not going to pick that type of player. Do I think he would have been an impact player for us? Yeah, him and Grady will wreak havoc. But I think ultimately what got him where he was not selected by us, he was not prepared for his pro day. And that's a
Out of shape.
huge red flag, man. You come in out of shape for your pro day, you can do a lot of things, but you can't give a guy a motor. And you wouldn't want to invest an 8th pick for a guy that may be an Albert Haynesworth and don't have a motor. That's an even bigger letdown, I think, than picking a running back.
Yeah, okay. Those are all fair points.
Yeah.
So I agree. But you got to think about the last 3 drafts. I mean, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, now you got Bijan Robinson. Okay. But my question continues to be, you're still not investing long-term resources into your defensive line. The NFL continues to show you year over year over year. The teams that can rush the passer, you give your offense a better chance to thrive because they're getting more possessions. What do the Eagles do? What do the Chiefs do? What do the 49ers do?
Right.
And they're constantly the last 4 teams.
Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina, but we're gonna talk about more so the teams that are there, like the Cincinnati's, the even Buffalo. Those 5-6 teams, they're right there in a position to wreak havoc in the playoffs. We're not, because how many sacks do we have, Kevin? Over the past year. How many sacks did we have?
We were last.
But give me the number. Come on.
We were last.
Give me the number. I know you know the number.
Yeah, we were last. I don't even want to say it.
It was 18, man.
It's an embarrassment.
Right. There was a person in the league that had 17 by himself.
Yeah, over the last 3 seasons, I think we've had 40, 42, something like that. Something crazy, some low number like that. But I guess this is where I look.
Embarrassing.
So we had a defensive coach in Coach Quinn, right? And I think we played more to those defensive strengths. We have an offensive coach now. They're going to want to go offense. And I think what they're looking at is, if we don't invest and figure out what Desmond Ridder is, which part of the reason we're here, let's be honest, is Coach Smith fought for not playing him last year earlier. That's part of the reason we're in here. We're picking Bijan. But you don't want to end up in the same situation like the Patriots, where you don't know what Mac Jones is because he has nothing around him. You don't want to end up like Tua, where at first you couldn't tell what Tua was because they had no talent. But now they added a lot of talent around Tua, and you can see what he is. So I think that they don't want to end up in that no man's land as some other organizations when you don't have the talent and you can't tell if a guy is good or not. Kind of like what happened with the Browns. They added a lot of talent around Baker Mayfield. You got a great running back in Chubb. You got wide receivers. You've got a serviceable defense. So now you can tell he's not the guy. And they want to put Ridder in that same situation. Either you're the guy or you're not.
Yeah. So
now we can get the guy, and there's not such a long wait to kind of get things jumping. And I think they want to play more like maybe, the greatest show on turf Rams, or even like the Chargers. The Chargers don't got no lights out defense, but when you play Justin Herbert, you better put points up because he going to put some points up.
So what happens in the playoffs, though, Kevin? What happens in the playoffs? That may work.
I mean, we got to make it to the playoffs first. We got to make it to the
playoffs first. That's very true. That's very true. But I mean what it seems like to me,
500 or a little bit below 500 for 2 seasons now.
Yeah, and you haven't sniffed playoffs for going on 6 years. But what it seems like to me is Arthur Smith is trying to duplicate what he had in Tennessee. Sounds good. But at the end of the day, I don't even think that method is sustainable. I just think, and here's another thing. You got Tyler Algier. He's a 5th round pick, 1,000+ yards. I know Cordarrelle Patterson is not, you're not going to be able to sustain using him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a full-time running back.
If you did that with the 5th round running back, you could have potentially got a free agent running back or another 3rd or 4th round running back. You're going to get yards out of this offense because that's what it's constructed to do. So in my opinion, even if you decided to trade down so that you can get, a couple of 1st round draft picks or whatever it looked like, my stance continues to be you should have invested in your defensive line, an edge rusher. That's what you need in the NFL. So I just don't really understand this. It doesn't seem sustainable. It seems like the Falcons want to always get the flash and dash guy. We want to get the Julio Joneses of the world, which is great. Julio was a baller, but at the end of the day, what happens? You know what I'm saying? You don't have one of these. You don't have a
Right.
ring because you did not want to invest in your defense. So I'm thumbs down on it, man. Bijan, great kid. I like the kid. I like the player. The pick was awful. The pick was awful.
I'm thumbs up.
That's my place.
I love it because I mean, if I'm the owner, Arthur Blank, I got to put butts in the seat at some point. I mean, nobody's coming. The building is empty. That's
True.
At the end of the day, it's a business. I got to make money whether I win or lose. That's number one.
I agree.
Number two, if we trade down, you know the Lions are taking the key. You know that because they have 11, and we're not going to be able to possibly get to 9 or 10. So you know that he's going to be gone. So that's number one.
Course.
You feel like you're reaching. Obviously, they didn't feel so great about Nolan Smith, maybe as great as you or I feel. So they feel like that's a reach. Yeah. We don't want to do that. We did that already.
But he went at the end of the first round. So that's, I think he went like right at the end of the first round. Yeah.
So you don't want to end up kind of reaching like you did for Richie Grant, which I'm not saying that he's bad, but so far it looks like it's been a little bit of a reach. And I hope he can turn it around. Yeah. You feel like potentially with the right coaching now and additional talent, Arnold Ebiketie will get off. Lorenzo Carter for us has been a dime in the rough. To be honest, for what we can afford and what we got, he's playing above his potential already.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think if he can be the same player he was last year, and Calais Campbell comes in and gives you what he did last year, and then David Atamata is still sharp and Bud Dupree can be what he is when he's not hurt, that's a whole different story now. Because you got the secondary,
you know what the problem is?
You got you've dealt with the second level in linebackers. Again, I love what they did in free agency. So you basically rebuilt your defense in free agency completely. Because we had second and third string guys that we're counting on that are starters. So now guys can be where they're supposed to be. So, and at the end of the day, we've got to be able to see what Ritter is. And I love it because we've been getting gashed by Alvin Kamara. Now we got our own weapon to gas you back. We can control the clock by running the ball now. CP can be the true Swiss Army knife that he is because you're not asking him to be a full-time running back because he can play more wide out. You
that
can
part
use
I
it
do
more
like.
Creatively. So now he probably won't get hurt as much because you're not asking him to pound the ball like you were before. So I just really like what we're doing. And I like being able to put points on the board. At the end of the day, who scores the most points? And our division is very winnable. And I'm sure that played a big factor in what we did. Tom Brady's not in the division. Drew Brees is at home on the couch. Bryce Young is a rookie. So outside of Carolina, I mean, Tampa starting Baker Mayfield? Come on, man. Let's be honest. Do you really think the Saints are going to light it on fire? I mean,
they may not light it on fire, but they're going to always be in the mix because of their defense. So and I'm not one of those people that's looking down on David Carr. I think David Carr is a pretty good quarterback. So
let's be honest though. If he was really that guy, would they let him walk out the door?
Well, I didn't say he was that guy. I said he was a pretty good quarterback.
Right.
That's what I said. He's a pretty good quarterback.
The division is very winnable. So win a division and then go from there. I think that's what the thinking is. This gives you the ability now to go back into the draft. Like we got a pass rusher in the third round from Ohio State. I really like that pick. I mean, I think, this kid could really add to what we're doing. So I like it. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I do like the Harrison pick in the third round because now you got an edge rusher. So, and remember, Grady Jarrett was a fifth round pick. Third rounder should be able to contribute to your team.
Yeah. I mean, should, but I just think you have to get to a point where, because just listening to you talk, you had about 20 ifs. If this happens, maybe if this happens, if this happens, if that happens. That ain't how football work. When you got to count on 20 or 30 ifs, that ain't how football work.
Well,
even if it wasn't going to be.
Bijan going to get busy. Bijan going to get busy. That's not an if.
Bijan's going to get busy. He's going to get busy. But we already had one of we were right there at number 2 in rushing. True. We already had an explosive rushing offense. So you get this kid, you bring him in, maybe you move up to number 1, but you're still what, 7-9. What did you do on the defensive end? We'll be better defensively because you couldn't get no worse. So
Right.
my thing is,
so let's just say this. We do know there were probably 3 or 4 games that we lost last year because we could not score in the red zone. And that's been a problem even in the Matt Ryan era. You put those points up and win maybe, let's say, 2 of those games. You win a division. Now you're in the playoffs.
That's true. That's true. You're in the playoffs. But me, as a guy that's been to 2 Falcons Super Bowls and invested a lot of time, effort, and money, I'm trying to see a ring before I'm in the dirt. So that's my perspective. At the end of the day, yeah, you got to start somewhere. But even if you win this sorry dumpster juice division, what you gonna be right there to get outed in the first round. In the first round of the playoffs,
all you
gone
gotta do
just
is
like
get
that.
in. You just gotta get in, man. You just gotta get in and wait for the chips to fall.
I'm trying to see these guys win something. I'm trying to see them win something. And what they're doing is trying to live in a gray area. They're trying to live in mediocrity, and I don't like it. You need to take a few seasons and actually build something so that you can compete for a Super Bowl. That's what it is.
So how do you feel about the next couple picks in Bergeron and Harris? So Bergeron, offensive lineman from Syracuse, big kid, supposed to be basically a brick wall. And Harris, an edge rusher. Guy can get to the passer, played in the Big Ten at Ohio State, so you like the pedigree there. How you feel about those 2 picks?
Yeah. I love those 2 picks. I think that, both of those kids really were probably somewhat of a steal, to be honest with you, because they were in mock drafts, they were rated, higher than where they were. And I think for the Syracuse kid, that's why the Falcons actually moved up to get him, because he was still available. Yeah. Bergeron was still available, and they're like, okay, we need to jump up and go ahead and get him. So I like those 2 picks. I think for where you were at that point in the draft, why not? Why not go ahead and get those 2 kids? The value was there for those 2 kids. So I give those 2 picks a thumbs up.
And you have to invest in your offensive line. We love Jake Matthews, but he ain't gonna play forever. And you don't want to be in a situation kind of like the Browns where Joe Thomas, retires and you don't have an answer for it. And he's basically our Joe Thomas, to be honest. So he can play tackle. Hopefully he'll be able to play some guard for us, which will be good. We had a good offensive line. I don't even remember the last time we've had a good offensive line, but we actually have one now, which is amazing. Matt probably would have benefited more if we had a better offensive line, but that's a story for another day.
It's a good rushing line.
Yes, it is.
From a pass blocking perspective, they're still not where they need to be.
Right.
So we got to emphasize that part.
I like bringing in the kid from Ohio State and Harrison because, again, now you're adding to the edge rush with him and Ebiketie, with Lorenzo Carter. Yeah. You're putting them with veterans like Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell. So I really like what we're doing from that standpoint. I just see our last pick was another defensive player, which, again, we went corner with Clark Phillips here from Utah. So I like that. That gives us an insurance policy because we just let Casey Hayward walk out the door, which I didn't 100% agree with, but, it is what it is.
I didn't either. Yeah.
But I do like what we're doing. And I see that they're trying to build things out. And I think that's, the philosophy that we're doing. Let's make sure that we totally rebuilt the defense. We did that. We've added more talent. Let's continue to add talent to offensive line. You can't have enough talent on offensive line. Ask the Cowboys when Zeke was good. They had, nothing you could do to really rush the passer at that point. So I like the picks. I like the direction. Yeah. Now I'm excited to see what it looks like on the field. I wish we were on Hard Knocks so I could see more of what these guys are going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, everything after those first 3 picks is pretty much depth. You're hoping that they can stick on the team and just add some depth. Everything from that point forward, we'll see. You don't really have high expectations for those guys at that point. No. So, hopefully they can do something. Anything that you get out of those guys, time on the field where they're actually productive, that's a plus. That's a win. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm going to say it again for the record.
If you kind of look at what we did from a trade perspective with the Lions, right? We gave up a 4th round pick to get Okudah, right?
Right.
If this kid can stay healthy, let's just say he stays healthy, that was already better than what you were going to get in the draft because he already got experience. So, and he was a top-rated player, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. So I'm really excited to see what the nucleus of this team is going to look like. I think we're doing something special, and, I think we got better days on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. We'll see better days, most likely, because you couldn't get any worse. So
it's only up from here, right? It's only up from here.
Yeah,
it's only up from here.
It's only up from here. But I'm not really satisfied. Looking at what I've had to look at for the past 25 or so years, really from '98 forward, I'm not really satisfied with taking a step at a time. I want to see this franchise invest in long-term and consistent success. I don't think you're doing that right now with this pick that you got. It's going to be fun, but at a certain point, the butts in the seats are going to leave because they like, man, these guys ain't really, teams are still going to come through the bins with solid defenses, and you can't try to outscore everybody 27-32. That doesn't work. So for me, they'll be better. They'll be better because they have to be better. But I just don't think that pick is a recipe for long-term sustainable success. So that's why I said.
Hey, let's look at it like this. We're not the Lions. We're not the Commanders. Those teams have when's the last time either one of them been close to being relevant or doing anything relevant or actually, being something that you actually want to look at on TV? So, hey, it can only go up from here. The Dolphins have just now got out of the basement. They've been in the basement longer than we have. So,
right. Yeah.
So I think
very true.
I think we're going in the right direction. It's going to be an interesting road ahead, but I love the direction. I love Bijan, and I want to see what it's going to look like on offense. Because here's the one thing I love right now. With us picking him, we're going to make you pick your poison. Are you going to try to stack the box and let the guys on the outside, like Kyle Pitts, like Drake London, do their job and get loose? Or are you going to, back off and let Bijan basically get to the second level? Pick your poison. So, and now we'll get to see what Desmond really is. So, with that being said, man, we appreciate y'all. It's a conversation for another day. We appreciate y'all joining us for this episode. Continue to tune in. Next episode, we're going to get into some Hawks talk. We got to really break down what should the Hawks be doing in the offseason now? What's the next steps? How do we move forward? Because I like the effort in Game 6. So how do we duplicate that moving forward? We're going to talk about that.
Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to it. Let me ask you one question. Just answer it with a yes or no. Does that playoff series make you feel any better about what you saw all season long?
I think I do feel encouraged by what I saw at the end and them actually standing up. And I saw remnants of what got them to the Eastern Conference Finals at the end of this last, game. So I'm encouraged. Yeah.
Okay.
They look better. But, they look better,
Yeah.
But the results were the same. I'm disappointed by the results. I hate the results.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. Didn't anything change from my perspective, but we'll talk about that. I'll break it down for y'all.
Yeah, we got changes coming. So, again, find us where you find your favorite podcast. Hey, we love it. We love you guys. Please interact with us. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Find us on social